All right, legends. Happy Sunday to everybody. We'll be analyzing the situation here for the price of Bitcoin. I do see this movement to the downside still being corrective, guys, okay? So make sure to stay tuned. We'll be analyzing the situation here together, guys. Make sure to destroy that like button. If you do enjoy the content, guys, let me know if you can hear me, if you can see me. I am back here in Dubai, and it's time for day trading, guys. It is time to look at intraday scenarios. Now, I do see this movement to the downside, which is a first potential sign of weakness. I do see the price hitting all-time high again in the next coming days, if not weeks, guys. Okay, you might think, how can you be bullish still? Okay, the sign of weakness has been struck already with this movement to the downside, and I want to explain why in this live stream, okay? Make sure to stay tuned because we'll be going in detail through some technical analysis, more focused in Elliott wave theory, taking into considerations the levels of resistance and support that we do have inside of the local ranges. Where we did get the bounce here was exactly at the previous all-time high, guys. We basically scratched that all-time high that we had in May, and that is where we did get the bounce, guys. Let me know if you can hear me, if you can see me. Had some issues here getting into the studio in my house with the connection. Let's analyze the situation here all together, guys, okay? Because, you know, I was really not seeing the price coming down this low because the general idea was looking at the bullish market structure and giving the possibility of what is more common to see on the chart after a major leg to the upside, which is a possible complex wave 4. Very long in time, very possible that we could still have that leg to the upside. It's what happens most commonly, and that is what we need to lean on, okay? So the price did come lower than I expected. I did get stopped out on a couple of the exchanges, guys. You know, it has been a bit of a, you know, nasty week. Of course, managing risk always do never risk more than you're willing to lose, of course, okay? We do have the projections, the possible scenarios, but I have to say that, yeah, I got stopped out, guys. You know, it's not always green, always we're absolutely crushing it, which, you know, a lot of the times it is. I had an awesome month of June, had an, you know, even shorting, but mainly longing here, these dips. Massive breakout here throughout the first week of July. Very, very good profitable trades, taking profits, maintaining some of that swing longs, entering new swing longs and getting stopped out, which I had to give almost 3% back to the market, guys, okay? And, you know, I'm happy to talk about the losses as well, guys. I'm happy to talk about it because we do not always win in the trading game. You know, it's impossible to always win, even though I do get into the zone for many weeks, right? When you're in the zone, you have very profitable weeks and it just goes up and up and up. And you're like, damn, I'm in the zone. I'm crushing it. You know, I'm not getting stopped out. This is absolutely awesome. And when you do get stopped out, it's part of the game and you need to be transparent about it, okay? And I think there is a lack of transparency out there in this industry, right? Where a lot of the people, you know, influencers, traders, they just want to share the wins. They just want to share the wins. I only share the wins because it's mainly, you know, a lot of the time it's only winning, right? It's like win, win, win. But it's impossible to win all the time. It seriously is. You can have, you know, many, many weeks and months, you know, having very, very good trades and, you know, mainly all in the green. But when it's stopped out, you need to talk about it, right? It needs to be talked about. You need to manage risk. I'm happy to be losing this day trade as well, you know, 5K here on this day trade and also on some swing trades as well, losing, you know, almost, you know, over 2% in total, right, throughout the different exchanges. And it's a little bit of a hit, but it's fine. I know I will recover throughout these next coming weeks and surpass the stop losses, okay? So that's how I want to start this stream, guys, right? I want to start this stream. We mainly start stream very hyped up, very green. Hey, you know, we're crushing it. Talking about, you know, we can go through many months here, but obviously I don't want to go too back. But June was absolutely awesome. The first week of July, second week of July, really good. We were very choppy and rangy. I stayed away of day trading the zone because I was in Spain and I wasn't really too focusing on trading. But now I'm back in Dubai and I'm going to really focus on intraday setups mainly. And yeah, basically this is what the holidays do, right? You get distracted, you're holding some swing trades, and this is what happens, guys. We get stopped out as well, right? So I just wanted to start off the stream like that, guys. It has to be talked about because I think there is a lack of transparency as well when people lose trades and there's basically you don't talk about it, right? It's a move on period, right? But I'm happy to actually be transparent about it, right? Because it's impossible to have 100% win rate and always win, right? So not been the greatest week, guys. For me, it has been a red week. So it has to be talked about, right? So not too worried about it. Okay, I am back in Dubai. I'm going to be concentrated, keeping fit, eating healthy, and, really analyzing the situation to get into more intraday setups instead of a swing trade. So let's go right away through the different possibilities based on this uptrend. We did retrace to a little bit too deep, guys, and this is for me the first sign of exhaustion of this bull market, guys, for Bitcoin I'm talking about. So I'll explain why this is the first sign of exhaustion and why heading to all-time high, which I do believe is going to be hit again. There is the multiple 1-2 setup, which would bring a massive breakout in a third wave, but we need a lot of information to be confident in that scenario happening. But contracting diagonals is, a lot of the scenarios are leaning out on a contracting diagonal possibility hitting all-time high. We do still have that huge amount of liquidity above 120K. There's more liquidity to the upside right now, of course, looking at the range of, 100K to 130K. There's more liquidity to the upside. And I do believe that we are going to hit that liquidity, still leaning on the side that this movement down looks more corrective. Now, that does not mean, of course, we were below the lows of a few $1,000s, but a successful breakdown in a wave 3 here is still the unlikely scenario. It's still unlikely. Yes, we did drop a few $1,000s from the low here, guys. I have to say, I didn't expect 112, 111K zone to be hit. But it still looks corrective. And it still looks like that it is a 3-wave structure. And that all has to do, looking at the probabilities, okay? It is extremely rare for an impulsive move to the downside for your wave 2 to be, 5-6 times longer than your wave 1. And it's more common that a B wave or an X wave is longer than your A wave or your W wave in a corrective structure. So it is more common for B waves or X waves to be longer in time, much more common than actually a wave 2. All right, comparing this, because this is the only possibility of an impulsive move down. And all of this is still sideways corrective range, which would be extremely long in time. And that brings me to the conclusion that, this scenario is still unlikely in my opinion, right? This was a bearish case that we were talking about throughout the previous video update. And this would be very, very rare. You don't see this very often if you were to get a successful breakdown where your wave 2 is extremely long. And this is the only way that you can count this as your wave 2 in a correction, okay? There's no 1-2, 1-2 here. This is not a 1-2, a double 1-2 right over there. It's still a large corrective range. And for this to be a wave 2, as mentioned, is extremely rare to get a successful breakdown in a wave 3 and just continue dropping. So we are still leaning on the side, and I'll go through the lower time frames and explain what are the different possibilities that could be happening here. Still looking at some kind of a 3-wave structure, and eventually, right now what we do have is the possibility of this being a contracting diagonal. Okay, there is that possibility. We are getting off the map this scenario, guys. This scenario is no longer relevant. And there is one simple reason why. Wave 4s, okay, do not hit the golden pocket in an impulse, okay? And if they do, you need to start thinking of exhaustion, of contracting diagonals, for example, right? And getting that exhaustion to the upside. So everything was looking very, very good for the bulls. This movement to the downside was looking, you know, giving that possibility of the price being corrective, a wedgie structure, right? In a wave 4 to get that breakout. We did have a bit of bearish information here, which we'll go through right away on the stream. So you need to lean with the trend and lean on the most common bullish possibilities, which is an impulsive move, right? This is the most common thing that you would see on the market, right? Wave 1, wave 2, a large wave 3, consolidation, wave 4, and then your last leg to the upside. So as we got this new information, the things are not looking too bullish, okay? Yes, I do see all-time high being hit, but I don't see a huge, massive breakout, okay? And I know we got some crazy price targets of 150K, 200K plus, right? And that is where the people do get trapped, right? We should be going to higher levels. And then, you know, around the corner, there's a bear market, right? And, you know, we all get trapped. I've still only sold 10% of my entire Bitcoin portfolio, 10% in this cycle from what I've been buying the last few years. I am considering of selling a little bit more, guys. You know, this is the moment, right? This is the moment. As long as you have a bullish, very strong bullish market structure, everything looks very impulsive to the upside. You're correcting down. You have your first leg to the upside, which is looking very good for big continuation to the upside. It still looks good till it doesn't. And it only has dropped a few $1,000s. That is when the alarm, you know, kicks in. Because on the previous cycle, I sold, you know, over 25% of my portfolio. This was publicly live on stream where I was very vocal about it. When we got the breakdown, everything was looking bullish till it didn't, till we broke structure and, you know, we went lower than we should have done on the bullish momentum. And this is the bounce where I got out, guys. I got out here with over 25%, taking massive profits from accumulation that happened throughout the previous years. So you need kind of that weakness, right? To really understand it's not looking that great anymore, right? It's not looking that great anymore. Everything's great when you're bullish and you're very, you know, obviously you don't want to be caught in the bear market, right? You don't want to be caught holding down without taking profits at higher levels, right? It's close to impossible to, you know, sell the exact high. You need to, you know, you sell at a range. You buy a range, right? And you sell at a range, right? It's impossible to actually buy the exact low and sell the exact high, right? It's just, it is what it is. It's like that. So this is the moment that I see the first sign of weakness, even though I am still very much seeing all-time high happening, because the movement down still looks very corrective, regardless if we went lower than, you know, I expected in an impulsive point of view, right? So the impulsive move to the upside has been invalidated from this structure because your wave 4 has retraced too deep, hitting the golden pocket. So that means that any movement to the upside, I do not expect a huge major move like this, right? Is a 112 possible? That is the main question right now, right? So when we do think about, you know, we're just going through higher time frame scenarios here, guys, because, you know, the general idea as well here is looking for a larger contracting diagonal possibility here, right? That is also, without a doubt, a scenario that could be on the formation here, where you have your 1-2, right? The low of the bear market, your first impulsive move, your corrective move, your large wave 3, and now you just have an expanding wave 5 that could be ending up, right, with a kind of a triple toppy situation and then eventually bear market. The first initial signs have been found, okay, inside of, the movement down that we've had the last few days. So it's like, even this small movement, I am already considering that we have exhaustion right now. Right now is the first major sign of exhaustion, just with a simple move down. And you might ask, why is that? Because the strong impulsive move from the last few weeks, has gotten invalidated with this movement down, right? For your wave 4, wave 5, that's perfect. You got a wave 1 here. Could have it been a 1, 2, 1, 2, bang 3? That's what we all hope about, right? But we did not finish that last leg to the upside. This retracement has gone pretty deep, and that is converting this movement up in a 3-wave structure. So when we do consider that 3-wave structure to the upside, you need to start thinking about other possibilities. Now, is this contracting diagonal possible? Where we have your wave 1, largest wave. This is a double zigzag in the end. You got a zigzag down. Right now, we do have a zigzag situation to the upside. And, when you retrace that much to the downside without creating that 5th wave, this could have counted as an impulse or a double zigzag. There's 2 possible counts on the here, being 3-wave or a 5-wave impulsive move. This one that right now is getting pretty clear to me that it is a 3-wave move to the upside that could automatically convert this scenario in a double zigzag. Okay, so you got zigzag up, zigzag down, zigzag down, because we are going to go through the lower time frames. Why the highest probability still is this to be some kind of a 3-wave zigzag structure based on timing and probabilities. And then eventually, what we need to be aware about is a 3-wave move to the upside here that could be the last leg up of the bull market, guys. It could be the last leg up of the bull market. So we'll be paying attention eventually on the recovery when that happens, right? When we do bottom out here, potentially in this area. But we'll be paying attention to that momentum to the upside to see how strong it looks, if it looks very 3-wavy, and we will be considering this pattern right over here. And why are we considering this pattern right over here right now? Because it's because of this movement down that's hit the golden pocket, right? We are getting supported. This is a big support zone, the previous all-time high eventually. You have this all-time high at 110K. Almost 112K zone. It is definitely support. It's a resistance support flip. What we need to be concerned about is that movement to the upside to possibly form a contracting diagonal, right? We'll be paying attention to this area. I do see another all-time high happening, and it all has to do with the movement down that we've had in the last few weeks, okay? That still looks pretty good for the price to get a reversal. And that's just only leaning on the probabilities of an impulsive move down. It is very rare to see an impulsive move to the downside where your wave 2 is, 6 times longer than your wave 1 impulsive move. It is just very, very rare. Of course, rare things can happen, right? Expect the unexpected, they say. So we without a doubt, we need to consider this possibility where the wave 3 is still getting developed here. You are moving down. We had the biggest move down since Thursday and Friday. I did not short the market, guys. I missed out on the short. I was very much looking for price to get supported and get a bounce. This is why I'm sharing the transparency here of getting stopped out with almost 3% of capital, right, throughout the different exchanges, which has to be talked about. Still good, as June was an awesome month. June and first week of July was absolutely awesome. Made over 15% with in between June and the first week of July. So I'm very much happy with June and part of July. It's just been this latest move to the downside eventually that went slightly lower than expected, leaning on the side of this being corrective, which I do see still being corrective, guys. Okay, so what are the scenarios that we are looking at for this to be corrective, right? For this to be a three-wave structure that it's, you know, should be ending soon. It should be ending very, very soon. And then we're going to focus on the latest move to the downside, which is this one, and try and spot, you know, that exhaustion, which could be very soon being in here, guys. Okay, we did break down a few $1,000 from 115K, which, you know, still seeing the possibility of getting chopped here and getting that reversal. And we need to focus on the latest move to the downside. Now, I'm going to be fully focusing tomorrow morning with the analysis, analyzing, you know, the different levels and possibilities with the Legends trading community and the Signals channel on Telegram, to really focus on intraday setups, just movements of $1,000 to $2,000 to, really look for those gains to recover, right, from this movement down. Anyway, let's go through the comment section. Say hello to the beautiful community. We'll be talking about levels of interest, possibilities with this latest move to the downside. We still have incredible bullish CVD divergence. It is absolutely insane. The lower lows that we are having on the CVD. Let's see if this does load. Insane, massive lower lows. Lots of shorts piling up still. The liquidity is still massively to the upside above 120K. I do see 120K plus being hit on the recovery, especially, you know, these lower highs is classic. It's a classic zone of liquidity that should be fetched at some point in the, you know, possibly this week with a massive recovery, or in between, you know, this week coming and next week also. Okay, so still leaning on the side that a reversal, looks corrective. It is rare to see that impulsive move down with that general idea here of the bears. Would be rare. The probabilities are lower for this to succeed, in my opinion. That's just purely based on data, purely based on looking at wave twos being so long in time, and it's more common for it to be part of a correction inside of a wave X or, you know, a WXYXZ as well. Okay, so there are two types of corrections here. Of course, this movement to the upside really looked better, which eventually in this correction is still a 5-wave structure inside of a flat of a C wave, right, of an ABC inside of wave X. You know, we were leaning on this being potentially bullish. You know, this is sometimes on the structure of the chart, you're going to have those two scenarios where you have the bullish one, which is a 3-wave structure, and then you have the impulsive move up, right? These are the classic signs of strength. However, if you don't consider the bearish case, you're going to be caught up like myself. Okay, you know, this is why I got stopped out, guys, because you need to get stopped out. So it's part of the game. You need to manage risk, right? It's all fine getting stopped out, but you need to manage risk, because this is where, if, you know, people can follow the different scenarios that you're looking at, the highest probability scenarios, in my opinion. And I am very worried about people going all in, right? Or going, like, you know, risking more than they're willing to lose, right? Risking 20%, 50%, or even getting liquidated it, or burning their accounts. This is a long-term game, right? Where you need to stack up those gains. You need to, you know, obviously realize that some projections are not going to come to fruition, and that stop losses will be hit. And that was the case for me when we were leaning on this scenario right over here, right? Where, you know, we're looking for a possible finished wave 4. Okay. You're looking for this to be a 3-wave possible finish structure in a WXY. And you have your first sign of strength here with some, you know, a 5-wave impulsive move, right? It looked pretty legit. It looked pretty legit. That's, you know, that's the general idea when we look at market structure and signs of strength, where you're looking for a, you know, momentum to the upside, corrective structure, and the first 5-wave move up to really believe that, you know, another higher low is likely going to be in here and get that leg to the upside. Not sure if you can see me and you can follow up here. I'm probably a little bit too big. So that's literally what we had here, guys, right? We literally had a very valid 3-wave structure to finish right over here, and a pretty legit 5-wave move to the upside, and leaning on the possibility that this could be corrective. However, you know, we do have the chance of this being an expanding diagonal, which are rare, but they do happen. And you have that 5-wave move down, for your wave 1 or your wave A. Move up, then down, right? So that's the thing here. It happens. You need to take more the other scenarios into consideration. So you do have that 3-wave move down, 5-wave move up, possible correction. You know, this is the zone that you're really leaning on the possibility of the price to get that move to the upside, guys. You know, this is the latest scenario. Everything looked very, very good. Sometimes if it looks too good to be true, then, you know, it's probably not that, right? So it did look too obvious, and this is, you know, the other scenarios that we need to take into consideration, where you literally had a flat here in this zone, right? There is a very much valid running flat scenario in this correction. You just have a 3-wave move up, a larger 3-wave down, and then a 5-wave move to the upside. You know, in an ABC flat, that's what you want to see on your C wave to possibly complete your X wave. And why is this scenario preferred? Why is a corrective move down in a 3-wave structure preferred? If this is the same length and time, then this one right over here, why is this scenario preferred than the bearish case, which is eventually getting a larger breakdown, and all of this being a wave 2 and this a wave 1, 2, 3, right? You're still in the formation of going to lower levels. We are downtrending. Eventually we need to be, you know, understanding the levels that we need to reclaim to really, you know, get bullish, right? Even though catching the lows, trying to catch the lows in this zone is without a doubt not a bad attempt. And we'll be going through the last leg down here. We'll be going through the last leg down here because it could be a completed 3-wave structure where you do have your first 1, 2, you get your big breakdown 3, and now your 4, 5s, 4, 5, right? And it's just getting for that reversal, which is very much a possibility, right? The big move already happened throughout Thursday and Friday, right? Part of Thursday and Friday. The big move already happened, if we do consider this a big move, right? Of, you know, $7,000 approximately, right? The big move happened. And after a big move, you usually get that exhaustion, right? After a big move, you start getting the exhaustion. The next leg to the upside is, you know, it is not as powerful as, you know, the previous one. Then the next wave is less powerful. So the big move has happened already, which was this drop right over here to come and claim the lows after this movement to the downside. So the big move has happened, and now you're getting that choppiness, which is very, very classic to get that reversal. So, you know, I'm not bearish. I was not bearish on this, in this zone. I'm not going to be bearish here right now. And imagine just being bearish right now and then you get the reversal. So, you know, this is still in the zone of getting the bounce. It's still leaning that this is likely corrective, and it's not impulsive. It's not the start of an impulsive move. This still leans on the lower probability scenario, purely based on timing. Okay, as well, it's you know, very, very rare to see such a long wave 2 compared to your wave 1, and it's more common to see it inside of your X wave or your B wave, if you wish, of a correction to be longer. okay, than your wave W or your wave A. You know, it's very, very common to see long B waves in time or X waves, okay? So we're going to be analyzing a little bit of this movement to the downside. And, you know, eventually, you know, I still hold a couple of swing longs that haven't gotten stopped out. They are slightly in the red. But, you know, I'm still, you know, very much seeing this area as an opportunity zone, okay? Because, you know, a lot of people might say, you know, we've broken the trend line to the downside, right? That's bearish. We're revisiting it right now. And eventually this is no bull flag, right? But this is the classic trappy area, right? Some people were maybe looking at this trend line and you know, breakout, we're going to break out and then trap. We're breaking down the trend line of the base. Well, then it's bearish and then you recover back up again. So these trend lines are insignificant, in my opinion. They are insignificant. So we're going to be, I'm going to go through the comment section, say hello to the beautiful community, and we'll be focusing on this latest move to the downside to figure out where could we be at right now. It does look good because after a big leg to the downside, which we are going to label this one right over here, this is the largest move down. This is the largest move that we have to the downside, even if we do combine it with this last leg down, because this could have been your potential, you know, or still part, right? This is still part of the large move to the downside. And after such a large move to the downside, you expect the price to chop out, right? The next movements down are unlikely to go to much lower levels. Of course, you can revisit the lows. This is where the double bottom, triple bottoms do become very interesting to get into a new long position, because it is very rare, okay? Rare doesn't mean impossible, guys. That you do have, you know, a big breakdown, you consolidate, and then you have another big breakdown like this, right? It's very common to get the big move down and, you know, chop around and then get the reversal. After the big movement, after the big fear movement, where it's bearish, bull market over, you know, that's the classic big leg to the downside throughout Thursday and Friday, where it's panic moment. Oh my goodness, we're breaking structure, we're breaking the lows, it's bearish, bear market, right? And you get that massive sentiment, which eventually is good, that brings you into the choppiness, because first you stop out all of those people that want to try and long the bottom and chop them out. And then as you chop them out, then you get the reversal. And that's currently the stage where I do believe that we are in at the moment, where we are in that choppy zone after the big move down that we've had between Thursday and Friday, which eventually, you know, you would lean on the highest probability on getting that reversal eventually, right? This is no time to be extremely bearish when the drop has already happened, right? So that's where we're going to lean our focus today on this zone. What levels do we need to reclaim to start being confident that we are going to take out $120,000 plus? And there are some levels that I want to share here that would be an initial sign of strength eventually. And what we do want to see from these lows, right, wherever the low is, if it's not this one, we create one more low, because this could still, you know, create that chop to wick out, you know, the early long positions. But you know, I'm gonna keep it a little bit simple for the viewer to understand, you know, what we need to see in this next coming days to be quite bullish, to see that reclaim of $120,000 plus, which is my main target to be hit in 1 to 2 weeks, guys. This is my main target zone, and I will take advantage of this movement to the upside to hit $120,000 plus, where we do have that liquidity, okay? We do have a huge amount of liquidity up there, and we're still leaning on the side that this is looking better as a three-wave structure that could be at its end stages, instead of looking for the start of a major impulsive move down that has lower probability just because of the length of your wave 2 in timing compared to your wave 1. Okay, so I need to lean with that. I need to lean with that scenario just because it's still, you know, according to probabilities and timing and Elliott wave, it's still the highest probability, okay, that you do get that bounce, and that this is a 3-wave corrective structure. So let's go through the comment section. I'll be talking about what are the plans to see in this drop to the downside, how the price could develop, and how we could take advantage if you are awake, you're looking at the charts, in taking advantage of those movements, guys. Okay, so let's go through the comment section. I hope I don't get bashed too much. I'm short when I'm long, long when I'm short. That is actually a good one, right? So yeah, it is true, right? Have your take profit where your stop loss is. And this is the best example, guys. I really feel with this movement down that I'm you know, complete retail noob, guys. You know, once or twice in a year, I do get those stop losses that you feel like a complete retail, okay? And it just happens, guys. As long as you manage risk and you're not, you know, taking a massive loss, it's a stop loss and you just move on, right? It's just a little scratch on your capital, like I mentioned, you know, 2-3%. It's a scratch and you just move on. But I get the point, right? Or, you know, wherever you're thinking of where to put your stop loss, enter a reverse trade and have your take profit where your stop loss, you know, the idea of where your stop loss is going to be, right? So yeah, it sometimes happens, guys. What can I say? Not often, okay? Anybody that is a legit follower from the channel knows that it doesn't happen often. But with me talking about 120k being, you know, literally likely to be hit based on liquidity and based off this impulse, if I would have reversed my idea, you know, understanding the bearish case, which is this it's this expanding diagonal to the downside, that you always need to give it an option. You always need to give it an option. If you have 5 waves down, regardless if it's an expanding move down and it's rare, you always need to give it an option. And, you know, there was the option of the ABC flat here, this movement down in your wave, you know, WX right there, ABC flat. You got your first leg down here in an expanding move, which is rare, but you need to take it into consideration just because you have 5 waves down. If you would have got into the bounce after the 5-wave structure at the golden pocket 7/8 Fibonacci from this high to the low, right? Golden pocket 7/8, perfect for a wave 2 or a wave B, and have your stop loss above this high, right? And take profit at the lows, right? Literally at the lows. Then eventually, you know, you would have made some profits, right? Instead of having stop loss here or stop loss here based on the bullish, you know, overall idea. And this is like that reverse psychology that you do have sometimes when you take a look at the probability. And it does happen, guys. You know, I have to talk about it, right? I cannot lie, because on the streams, I like to say, this is a good level of rejection. This is a good bounce. You know, I do believe that this is going to happen. And, you know, we do have many videos throughout the last few weeks, even a couple of months, talking about different projections and different levels. You know, this did not hit all-time high, but this was a bouncing zone. It did bounce $4,000 or $5,000 to 119k plus. You know, this was the general idea. It could be a 3-wave structure, and then this is the leg up. This topped out, as you know, just last week at 119k zone, almost hitting 120k. It didn't manage to rally, but the levels are very much explained, you know, very transparent about the situation here on the different possibilities. WXY, can we, you know, rally here to the upside? And this latest one not coming to plan. Not coming to plan, guys. You know, I always lean on a more, you know, on either the bearish side or the bullish side. You know, I'm always tell you about my favorite scenario. And if I talk about a favorite scenario, I need to come to the stream and apologize, basically, right? I say, guys, you know, that scenario that we talked about the last few days, my favorite scenario was completely wrong, guys. And I need to come and say about it, right? I can't all just come and say, you know, we predicted this, even though a lot of the times it's, guys, remember this level, remember this trade, bang, bang, bang. We love to do that because it does happen most often. But when it doesn't happen, I will talk about the bad scenario the entire stream, guys, okay? Because, you know, I need to be transparent about it, guys. I was wrong about this scenario. I was wrong, right? And you might think, why am I following this dude where he's just, you know, talking about his wrong decision, talking about his, well, it wasn't a wrong decision. It was stop loss hit and that's it, manage risk. But it's just about the transparency, guys, okay? Just being transparent, that's it. Anyway, let's go right away. Gang. Other gang here. Make sure to go and check out 𝗖𝗿𝘆𝗽𝗍. 𝗖𝗿𝘆, I was just talking about a bullish case scenario that did not play out, and we need to come up and, you know, back it up. Say, you know, I was wrong about this scenario. Other gang is here, guys. If you don't know who 𝗖𝗿𝘆𝗽𝗍 is, make sure to go and check him out. He's an absolute legend. He does intraday live trading on his streams. So it is absolute legend, okay? Make sure to go and check him out, guys. 𝗖𝗿𝘆𝗽𝗍. Hang on a second. Let's give that shout out as he deserves, because I do hop in on his stream sometimes, and he does give me that shout out. He's an absolute legend, guys. Very cool guy. Does live trading. Here he is, guys. 𝗖𝗿𝘆𝗽𝗍. Make sure to go and check him out because he's an absolute legend, okay? Shout out to you, brother. Thanks for joining here on the stream. I have been watching. God bless, enjoying your transparency. yeah, absolutely. Has to be talked about. I love talking about good, bullish, bearish predictions. You know, and this time it did not happen, guys. It did not happen. But anyway, regardless, that's it. That's enough crying, okay? If you're gonna cry, you know, that's it, guys. You know, it's been done. It's been done. So we need to talk about the new scenarios, the new levels, and of course, what I am looking for here throughout the next coming days. And as mentioned, this movement to the downside looks like it could be ending soon. Of course, another new low is a possibility, but, you know, breaking down here would be rare because the big move happened throughout Thursday and Friday. And after a big move, you don't expect a big move later on. And that's where you usually get the choppiness before the reversal, of course, potentially revisiting the low. So we're going to focus here on this range. What are the most important levels and scenarios? Of course, reclaiming value area low of this zone, which is very far away. Of course, it's 116.7k, still got $3,000. Getting back inside of the range would be eventually a good sign of strength. That's the moment that we need to be paying attention to actually get back up to the value area high and sweep up that liquidity of above 120k, right? So yeah, just quickly through the comment section. On to the next one. You're a great trader. Much love to you, Alex. Yeah. Thank you very much for the kind words. But I like to talk about it because I know a lot of people, you know, try and avoid talking about the, you know, stop losses and the bad predictions. And I'm the first one to actually, well, not the first one, guys. I'm not going to put myself on number one, but I like to talk about it. Okay. It's very important to be transparent about the, you know, the decisions if I got stopped out, and it's part of the game. Yeah. Let's look forward and make some money. Yeah. Okay. Viking boat. Let's go through the scenarios. Tell me it wasn't Sheldon at banter. I'm not sure what's going on here. Last week was a heck of a to trade. I sorted bet against my brain, thinking we would get bullish news of not nuclear subs, etc. Yeah, we had some bearish news eventually that could have affected. We had the tariff situation and you know, a bit of bearish news going on, which, you know, could have been also part of the impact to the downside. But looking at the movement here down, I am very much confident in the highest probability is not to successfully move down from this zone. Okay, yes, revisit the lows is a possibility, but this is where we get into the 15-minute time frame, guys, and we start zooming in a little bit on the structure. So what is most important always, as we like to analyze, is the latest wave, the latest move down. Okay, and the latest move down was from this lower high or from this one right over here, because we need to consider all of this one wave, which, we were leaning on the possibility of being a corrective wave, but apparently it wasn't. So it was a 5-wave expanding diagonal, okay, that we need to give the chance here for a wave 1 or a wave A. I am leaning on the side of a wave A, okay, and it all has to do with the probabilities of looking at this as a wave WXY instead of a wave 1, wave 2, and your wave 3 is getting built at the moment, because having a wave 2 that is this long is very rare, and it's more common for a wave X or a wave B, right, of a correction. So this is the latest move down that I need to focus on. I need to focus on what is going on here on this leg to the downside, understanding that the biggest move down has already been developed. And, this is very, very common where this is it, guys, bear market. We're going to go to much lower levels, 105, 100K, right? You name it. But the bounce is very, very likely to happen very, very soon, because you initially have that first leg to the downside, bang, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This could be your initial wave 1. And then you have the bounce, and then you have the big move down, which eventually you're labeling as your wave 3, right? Most commonly you do get that next few waves that are chopping. They do not get so big as this one right over here. So this is the moment that you really need to be, excited for that reversal, because the movement down has happened. If you did not participate in the move down here, you cannot be bearish down here, right? You cannot literally say we're going to go to extreme low levels. Could we do so? Absolutely. But I'm more interested in longing support and longing the reversal right now instead of being bearish. I've missed the movement down, so I'm not going to be bearish here. I'm more interested in those larger swings, and my overall target is hitting 120K plus. So I want to be ready, and I want to participate in the best, the best trades possible. And that's, obviously where we lean here on the lower time frame, most importantly. So if we were to come down to the lows at 112K, I'm looking for a double bottom, because this could be your wave 1, your wave 2, your wave 3, and you may be forming a flat here in this scenario, right? Or you may be forming that wave 4, and then you move down and test the lows. Your big move down has been happening throughout Thursday and Friday. So I understand that, what we're looking at here is a wave 5 to be finished, if not the wave 5s are already in. Could the wave 5 be in already? Absolutely, because we do have this scenario right over here, okay, which is a WXY. And this is a ABC structure right over here. You got your A wave, your B wave, and your C wave, right? And let's turn this orange or another color here so we can see it right there. Now, if we do have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 expanding diagonal in your wave A, your bounce in your B wave, what is interesting a bit about this latest move down is that you have the first leg down and a lower high. Then you have the big wave to the downside, a large consolidation that can be labeled as your wave 4. And now you have your latest move down that could be your 5th wave, which is a bit 5 wavy as well, right? So the general idea is that the biggest move down from Thursday is your wave 3. Your largest wave here in timing is your wave 4, and then your wave 5, which really chops down, right? There is a chance here, without a doubt, when we analyze the latest move down, that this could have been the low. Now, it doesn't, if you want to try and catch the low, it is a dangerous game to try and catch the low unless you have a massive support here based on a naked point of control or an order block, for example, right? We had that larger order block that did chop down beneath it. I mean, we did create a small little reaction here, bounce, but you could have got chopped out. So it does become a little bit risky to try and, catch the low at an exact level, naked point of control or order block, right? It becomes a little bit risky. And this is where I want to talk about the safest trade at the moment, because if this were to be the low, guys, we're going to get some information in the next 1 to 2 days. If this is the low, we are going to get some new information here. How can I know that this potentially is the low and that we have formed a zigzag down here in your wave Y and an ABC? Right? Because the count is very much possible. It's legit. You have your first little wave 1 and 2 throughout Thursday, the big wave 3, large consolidation in a wave 4, which is very common here in a flat, and then you have your wave 5, right, which chops down. You know, you could label a contracting diagonal in this area, right? Little contracting diagonal right over there in your wave 5. Your biggest wave is this one. And that's literally what we're looking for, right? Wave 1, wave 2, 3, 4, and 5, you know, that can create that chop contracting diagonal, right? It's very much a possibility. You know, how can we detect this, guys, right? This is the question that you always look for, the highest probability scenario, right? Detecting this scenario that we could be really getting bullish right now, we need a bit of a clear five wave impulsive move down, right? And we can't go really to the 5-minute time frame right now. It is really a little bit too choppy, a little bit, you know, not too clear with the Sunday choppiness. But you know, what we want to see here in between the 5-minute and the 15-minute time frame is a 5-wave impulse, and we haven't got that information right over here with this bounce. Okay, this doesn't look extremely 5-wavy. So what would be the best scenario, as it's still a very shallow bounce? Okay, we only bounced 1,700, just because the overall target for me, guys, in the next coming days, I mean, if you want to try and long the bottom, right, it does become risky. I would be happy to get into a double bottom scenario here. Just realizing about this, guys, 1, 2, 3, could be the third wave getting developed, and the fourth wave is still on the formation. And what I'm looking here is for the local double bottoms for that reversal, because the big wave has happened already between Thursday and Friday, right? I mean, this is what I'm trying to explain. The big move has happened. Once the big move has happened, the next move down is likely the bottom formation, either in a double bottom or a triple bottom. You know, it can chop down to the lows and then gets the reversal, right? And this is, you know, how the market works. It's the general idea. You know, why do you think that the low could be in or very close to being in here? And you're interested in double, triple bottoms, right? What if we break down? Well, if we break down, I will not speculate on that double bottom. I need the price to recover back beneath the lows, above the lows, sorry. And, you know, the reason why I'm confident about this scenario is because the big move has happened already, right? And when you have a big move, you always need to label it first as a wave 3 till you're proven wrong, right? Basically, right? Till you're proven wrong. So yeah, this is the idea, right? The big move has happened, so I need to label that this is a 3-wave formation, a 3rd wave formation. So now the overall question with the choppiness is, have we still not formed the wave 4? Maybe it's on the formation, and we get that last leg down to revisit the lows here, and then we get the bounce. You know, that's the overall question right now, and that would be on the 5-wave structure here, looking at this, you know, possible 5-wave move down. So I like the idea that the low could be in or close to being in, because you have one wave down here, one wave up, forming that lower high, which we like as the possible B wave. And then the 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5s, you're forming your 5 waves right now, or your 3rd wave was very, very large. Okay, finishing here, and now you're forming that ABC flat potentially. This could be an ABC flat, could create one more low. I'm not that interested in shorting here at the moment. If I miss the short from higher, I'm not too interested in shorting right now. I'm really, looking for that possible reversal to happen. So, yeah, not interested in the shorts, just realizing that the low could be in. So if I missed this low right over here to get into a long, I would remain patient on the possibility of getting that leg down. I know it's possible. So I would be interested in that double bottom, realizing that, the fourth wave could still be on the formation, one more leg down and then the bounce. So a double bottom here makes massive sense. It makes massive sense, right? I don't like every single double bottom or every single double top, but this one I would be very interested in, just realizing that we could be forming our last corrective move because the big wave has already happened. And, when you go with the general idea that your largest wave usually is that wave 3, and you're just looking for your 4-5 and then the reversal, right? So a double bottom here is without a doubt an option. It's without a doubt a good option here. You got that order block as well down here in between 111 and 112K. There's a nice little order block that could provide that support for the double bottom, and then you get that reversal, right? It's just very, very common to see the chop, movement down, and then more chop, and then the reversal. It's just very, very common to see here. So a double bottom is without a doubt one of the options that I'm looking at for a new trade. Shorts, not too interested. If I miss the leg down, I've missed it, guys, right? If I missed the taking advantage of this movement down on a short throughout the last few days, I'm not too interested in participating on a short right now. Just realizing that a reversal could be around the corner based on this structure, guys, that I'm explaining at the moment, right? I mean, this would be one of them. The 𝗖𝗿𝘆𝗽𝗍 is still a possibility. Okay, it is still a possibility for the 𝗖𝗿𝘍𝗽𝗍. Also, I'm liking this one, but I also like this one. I don't like this one too much, which is the most bearish case, and it's just purely based on probability. So I'm more interested in getting into a new long here, understanding that this still has higher chance to be a 3-wave corrective structure than a impulsive move down on the formation. So you need a trade based on your plans and your analysis. One of my plans would be looking for a double bottom if we were to see this as an ABC flat, throughout the last 24 hours, claim the lows, boom, get that bounce. Okay, this is the zone where I'm interested in longing. If we break down the lows, I'm not interested. If we do not claim that low, and I will be paying attention here throughout tonight if we are going to move down correctively, but it might just roll over. We've claimed these highs. An ABC flat here is very much a possibility. Very much a possibility, just like we formed an ABC flat here. ABC flat here and then claim the lows is very much a scenario here, guys. Okay, we did form that swing failure pattern from those lower highs that we formed yesterday. So yeah, I mean, it's a rejection point, as we can see the price struggling in this zone. I'm personally not too interested in this. So being a little bit clear here, if we do get a little bit of a clear, recovery here in a kind of a 5-wave move up, we eventually are going to see levels of resistance where the price could reject. And there's no better level than the value area low, right, of this entire trading zone. I'm not sure if we're going to stretch that much, but if we do form a little bit of a 5-wave move to the upside with a clear 3rd wave with the highest volume, right, if the next leg up after a correction does provide that volume, we get a small correction move and another leg up, and we do form a kind of a 5-waver, not like this one, because this correction, still moved to the downside, but that was the problem of the range of forming an ABC flat here. But, literally something like this but eventually we are looking for that corrective move to bounce in between 50% and the 7/8 Fibonacci most commonly, right? Most commonly you would look for this area to create that bounce. And that's where I would be interested in. You know, we would be interested in analyzing very carefully that movement to the downside. And, you know, we have this as an example, which is the worst example ever. 5-wave move up, corrective structure, you know, we should, value area low providing support. This is it, guys. You know, this could be it. Yeah, this is the worst example ever because this did not happen, right? We came back down. But this is uncommon, right? It's not uncommon. It's just we had a difficult range here, which eventually, you know, it didn't give us that highest probability, unfortunately, right? It's just you need to take into consideration bearish case, which would be your wave W, A, B, C flat, right? Your C wave is a 5-wave move up. What if this is forming a larger correction? You know, that's the thing right now. Eventually, with a 5-wave move up from this pivot, without having a choppy range behind us, you can be more confident in this scenario. Because if you have a choppy range behind you, it could be all sorts of different structures. All sorts, right? Just like this one here, wave A, ABC flat, leg down, right? So I'm more confident in this scenario if we do get a good stretch to the upside with some volume in the middle in your wave 3, and we start really picking up, we're likely going to get some resistance either at the value area low, or, you know, golden pocket from this pivot high to the pivot low, or 50% Fibonacci golden pocket with this area. So a rejection is expected after getting that leg up at the resistance zone, which is 116.5k area. You know, value area low would be the strongest level eventually as resistance if we do stretch our legs. But most importantly would be the pullback. The pullback would be the most important to analyze in this scenario. Okay, so yeah, not much more has to be said here regarding Bitcoin to be confident in the probabilities of stretching our legs, because you know the good thing about having that strong leg to the upside is that we would expect another leg to the upside regardless if it is going to reject here or actually gets, you know, some pretty intensive moves to the upside. You would expect another wave up, right? That's what I would be expecting after the correction, after getting a clear impulsive move up. All right, it needs to be quite clear. We need to see some volume kicking in, you know, really attempting to move higher. You know, expect that pullback at some stage at resistance, which would be the value area low of this trading zone. Very, very likely would be the rejection point. And, you know, that pullback needs to be analyzed very, very carefully to look for the next wave up, right? And get back inside of the value area low. Value area high would be the target, right? Sweep up that liquidity that we do have of massive shorts at 120, 21K. You know, that's the general idea of the week, in my opinion, after finishing this choppiness. So yeah, let's see. I mean, you know, this is no zone for me to be bearish. I do realize that the movements to the upside, I'm not looking for extreme powerful moves. All-time high to be hit, absolutely. 130K maybe or so. But I'm not expecting big blast offs. You know, this movement down has really given me the first sign of weakness that the movement up between June and July is not that powerful. This movement up, if we would have bottomed out here without hitting the golden pocket from this pivot low, you know, looking at it to be the wave 2, then yeah, absolutely, you know, boom, boom, wave 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is still very bullish market structure. You got 5 waves up, corrective move, awesome, guys. This is still bullish. We could go to extreme higher levels in the next coming months. That's changed. that's changed pretty aggressively. And I do realize that, yeah, we're likely going to hit all-time high again in the coming weeks. Likely going to be hit, and it's probably going to be, we're back much higher levels, and I would be very, very skeptical this time, guys, of going to much higher levels. Depending on the price action, I will be taking profits based on my spot bags. I'll be selling another 5-10%, because it does look like that we could be seeing some exhaustion, contracting diagonal here. That the bull market really getting its last, breaths, right? Is its last legs to the upside. And that has to do with this leg down, guys. It has to do with the latest move up between June and July. This does not look as strong. Can this be a double 1-2, right? That's when we come with the most bullish scenarios that, I don't see them quite possible, just because, a double 1-2, you need to consider it, but it is rare to see your second wave 1 and 2. So if we say that this is a wave 1 and 2, right? You got your 3-wave structure finishing here. Right? There's a 3-wave structure finished in between May and June. You cannot make it up. It is there, right? It's a 3-wave move to the downside. This is where I made most of my gains in June. Long in the lows of this range, and even long in here, the breakout. But, when we consider a 1-2, it is rare. It is rare, right? So instead of labeling this as 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, we need to give the options of double 1-2s, right? But this is rare just because your second wave 1 and 2 is usually smaller in time and price action than your first wave 1 and 2. It is usually smaller, right? And best example of multiple 1-2s is right over here. Right? If this were to be the low, or this one right over here, it doesn't matter. We had a triangle scenario here. There's several options in counting this WXY. But you can see the bigger move here, smaller move here, smaller one here, and then bang, your third wave kicks in, right? And you can see your second wave 1s and 2s are actually getting smaller, okay, in price action and time. And having your second wave 1 and 2 larger in time and price action from this wave 1 and 2, it is rare eventually, right? With the highest amount of volume compared to this wave 1 and 2, it is rare. So the most bullish case scenario, if you wish, would be that this is a 1-2 and this is your second wave 1 and 2. Your second wave 2 is much larger in time than your first 2, which is very rare to happen, right? It's just not something that you would give it the highest probability, but that would be the most bullish case scenario, where this ended up in a second wave 1 and 2, and your third wave hasn't been developed, right? For all of those big bulls out there. For the moment, we need to give this the lowest probability, just because your second wave 1 and 2 to be larger in time and price action than your first wave 1 and 2 is, not common. It's just not common, right? And if it is not common, you cannot give it the highest probability. Could it happen this time? Absolutely, right? This is why we want to try and take advantage of the sign of strength that we could get here in this area, right? It's if you miss catching the low, then it's not the greatest level to long right now, considering that we are downtrending and that we could still be forming a fourth wave here and one more leg to the downside. It's still very much a chance. We are downtrending. So we need that first initial sign of strength, which would be a, getting that impulsive move, right? Let the price prove that it's getting the bulls back in here, and that this wave up that we do, that if possibly is formed in the next coming days, looks impulsive, right? Instead of a correction for a lower high and going to lower levels, right? If the leg up does look impulsive, we need to give it the chance of being the first leg up in either a wave 1 or a wave 8, and you're very interested in that corrective structure that follows up later on to then get the next leg to the upside, right? So yeah, we'll be focusing on that, especially in the Legends community and in the Telegram Signals channel. I'll be more focusing on day trading, scalping throughout the week. So if you are interested in joining the Telegram Signals channel, guys, make sure to sign up to the Telegram. It's the first link down below in the description, okay? To either join the pro community or the Signals channel, what I'm talking about of my Bitcoin trades, right? Where I'm taking action, which is going to be more focused on scalping and day trading throughout the next coming weeks, as I am here in Dubai already, not in Spain, drinking beer and eating paella all day, and going to be focusing very much in scalping and day trading. So let's quickly go through the comment section. I do see that this zone bottoming out. Looking at the probabilities lean that this is still a corrective structure, just because of timing. Okay, just because of the timing of a wave 2. And it's more common for a wave B or a wave X. Okay, let's go through the comment section, see what the people are saying. I did buy some more ICP, guys, with this drop. Anybody, I do buy altcoins. I do think that an altcoin season will happen. So I'm very, very confident that ICP has been the crypto that I've bought the most in the last few weeks. Probably going to stop buying, guys. I bought another 3,000 ICP in this area of $5. I do realize that we can revisit the lows, but bought another 3,000 ICP. And I just wanted to share that, right? Anybody that wants to know, I do see ICP bottoming out in this zone. It's forming an accumulation area throughout the last few months. And I am looking for that reversal. I want to take advantage of the leg to the upside, right? After a range. I want to be part of the move up. I don't want to be getting, participating on the move up while it's happening. Because if you participate when you get the movement up, you're at the risk of, getting, into a drawdown for many months, right? So if you participate on the breakout, you're at the risk of this. So when you range and you consolidate is when you really want to be, really excited for what is to come in the next coming weeks, if not months, guys. This is a spot trade, right? It's a, buy and hold, accumulate and hold till you actually get the breakout and make 2, 3, 4x, right? And start taking some profits. Just wanted to share that, guys, based on spot accumulation, because I do invest in crypto as well. Why didn't you tell them Bart Simpson pattern? Yeah, this is, very, very famous Bitcoin pattern. To complete the Bart Simpson pattern, we should be coming all the way down to these lows, right? Bart Simpson pattern right over there. What can I say? Yeah, it's not really a pattern, right? It's not really a pattern, but I don't, yeah, it's not really a tradable pattern, right? Why didn't you talk about the Bart Simpson? Los Osos en la casa, says Little Menace. Yeah, definitely. Let me know, guys. I'm going to do a poll right now about Bitcoin. Let me know, are you feeling more bearish? How are you feeling, guys, about Bitcoin? How are you feeling about BTC for the coming weeks? And I'm just going to go simple here. Bullish, bearish. Let me know, guys, what is the general sentiment here? on the poll. Let me know right away. Are you feeling bullish? Are you feeling bearish? Let me know right away for the coming weeks, okay? Something interesting about the data from the previous cycles, and you know, this is such a it is, I mean, it's an excuse to kind of be bearish. It's like cycles never repeat themselves, right? History doesn't have to repeat, so it has to be bearish. Well, July so far, it was bullish. I think you probably know what I'm going to talk about. We talked about this about a week ago or two, where post-halving years, 2016 was a halving year, right? We did have the halving in 2016. In 2017, the bull market year, July and August were very bullish, okay? July and August were bullish after the halving year. 2020, same scenario. Halving year, the next year, which is the bull market year, July and August, you know, ended up in the green pretty well. This time, eventually with diminishing returns, July did end up bullish, okay, with 8%. Will it be the same as the post-halving years from the previous two cycles? You know, that is the main question right now, right? July so far in the green. Will August flip green or not? Well, you know, we do have a very, very strong chance, in my opinion, with where we at, you know, in the first week of August after getting this movement down, right? This is the moment that you really can't get very bearish after the movement down, right? If you haven't been bearish in trying to spot here the lower high to form, you can't be bearish, right? I mean, we took advantage of this movement to the upside, right? Very much bullish here throughout the throughout the channel back in June. I did take advantage of this leg to the upside, which was awesome. You know, that's where I made most of my gains in June. When you have that leg down, we're breaking down head and shoulder structure or whatever, right? You know, this is the classic moment, right? Not many people feeling comfortable in this area to be bullish, right? Not many people feel comfortable to be bullish when we have a Bart-Simpson pattern. We have a head and shoulder structure. We're breaking down. Well, it was a fake out and we reversed back to all-time high, right? So this is kind of a little bit of, you know, where we are at the moment. How bearish are you feeling right now? You know, after this, you know, kind of a three-wave structure. You know, is it the moment to be bearish? You know, we're just tapping the previous all-time high, which is very common on higher time frames to get supported. You know, you need to think about it twice, right? I'm actually quite bullish, you know, still leaning on the analysis of this is looking more corrective than impulsive, right? For a major breakdown, guys. You know, I'm still leaning, even though, you know, I am calling for all-time high. I'm just skeptical about breaking out massively, super cycle, right? 200K. Very, very skeptical about that eventually. And we'll be monitoring the price action as we do get to all-time high, you know, looking at the different options of, you know, the different contracting diagonals that could be on the formation, even the larger time frame one. So, yeah, just we need to go level by level here. Level by level. It is good for a bounce. It is, we have corrected already, so we don't have to throw the towel here and sell all of our Bitcoin because it's bearish. But poll is 74% bullish. Well, you know the idea here about, we only got 78 votes, guys. Make sure to get your votes in. We're over. Make sure to destroy the like button, guys, if you do enjoy the content. Okay, make sure to smash it up, guys. The like button is lagging. Let's get to above 200 likes, guys. That would be absolutely awesome if we can do that. Let's get that like button smashed. I'm going to go through the comment section. We're really kind of, you know, focusing on Bitcoin here, on you know, the probabilities. Like I said, it still looks three-wave corrective. I don't see a major breakdown happening. You know, we always want to manage risk eventually. Don't take my word as it is going to be 100% right. But, you know, it wouldn't make sense to get a successful breakdown from this point already. We've got the bigger move happening between Thursday and Friday. If it were to be a successful big wave 3, you know, we should have been breaking down already very aggressively. Could we take into consideration that it is a double 1-2? And I'm not liking the double 1-2 to the downside. Why? Why not a 1-2, 1-2 if we start moving up here and then break down in a wave 3? And that comes with the explanation that this is rare. This is rare. And rare means it happens, you know, 2-3 times out of 100, right? That you do have your second wave 1 and 2. This is your first wave 1 and 2. And this is your third wave 1 and 2. Your second wave 1 compared to your first wave 1 to be much larger in price action, much larger, right, is rare. You know, it is rare, right? So I just need to share that with you. So a double 1-2 here to break down in a third wave. You know, the moment the price action starts overlapping the 115.8k, we can be very, very confident if we were to move up impulsively that, yeah, what we're looking at, guys, is very likely a stretch out to hit 120k. Let's see how the price develops between, you know, the next coming days. Of course, a new low could be on the formation. I'm interested in a double bottom. I am personally interested in a double bottom if we get down here. But I'm more interested in what could be likely and is eventually getting that first stretch to the upside at some point in a 5-wave structure and looking for the corrective move, because what I'm interested is in participating in this leg to the upside, right? I want to participate in that leg up to claim 120k plus. That's my main target. At least at a bare minimum, right? Eventually higher is possible, but that would be the first target zone from this, you know, bit of a swing trade setup. So we do see the bullishness on the poll, guys. The bullishness in the poll is 71%, 29%. We do see some bears. Bears, make sure to comment. Feels like we need to return to home of the all-time high. Maybe one more retest for an inverse head and shoulder to return upwards. Inverse head and shoulder. I'm not sure if you're talking about one here locally. I mean, this would be nice. Yeah, this could be the first stretch up, guys, of your wave 1. Maybe an inverted head and shoulder here between yesterday's price action and today's. I'm not a fan of inverted head and shoulders or head and shoulder structures. But yeah, could we form a higher low here? We form a little bit of an inverted head and shoulder, higher low, and then, you know, move up here in a big wave 3, 4, 5, right? And that's your impulsive move that happens to for the confirmation. Then you get the correction. Then we're looking at this scenario to get the leg up. Yeah, very possible eventually. I'm more interested in confirmation bullishness, as mentioned. You know, I want to see that 5-wave impulsive move up to get my new trade set up in the correction. So yeah, make sure to get your votes in here. A lot of people are quite bullish. 4 months candle closed in green, so maybe this month could close in red. Let's go through candlesticks as well. Why not? Let's take into consideration the candlesticks. 4 hourly did close in the green. It did reject from that last lower high on the 4 hourly. Daily candlesticks, not much to say on the daily. Weekly, we do have a weekly close. Ooh, maybe the bulls want to try and recover. Wow, this is going to be a massive engulfing candle. My goodness. A massive engulfing weekly candle here, which is not too nice, huh? It's not too nice, that weekly. Look at this, how it's covering all of the previous week. Wow, I mean, it's a pretty massive, aggressive engulfing candle right there. That's, you know, we would have to recover 217k plus in the next coming hours, which, you know, yeah, I don't see it very likely to happen. Not the most beautiful weekly candle here, but we need to go with the local price action. Andy, why BTC GDP? What's this? Andy, why BTC GBT and BTC US dollar looks so different in structure? Can you compare? Yeah, the thing, Devil, my man, I would love a double bottom. Double bottom, my man. Yes. I was just explaining, Devil, how the big move has happened between Thursday and Friday. And after a big move, you really expect choppiness. Having another big move later on would be very, very rare. Okay, so eventually the double bottom is to really try and spot that, you know, kind of 4-5 structure, right? You want to get into that double bottom on the 5th wave to get that reversal, potentially for that WXY or for this larger ABC, right? And you got your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You know, you're really looking for the price to struggle to break down successfully, because the big move has already happened, right? And the big move is the one that you want breaking massive structure, right? And participating in. And after a big move like this, you really want to try and spot that reversal. So yeah, about the BTC Great British Pound, the dollar has had more inflation. That's the simple reason why. Yeah, this is the simple reason that the structure looks so different. Because, I mean, we need to do the analysis on US dollar, because US dollar is the, you know, world reserve currency, and the analysis has to be done on the dollar, right? But the structure looks different. It even looks very similar to the euro. But, you know, we don't do the analysis here. You know, even the euro hasn't hit all-time high, right? When you compare it to the US dollar, Bitcoin did get a significant leg above the all-time high in May. And when you take a look at the euro, it hasn't even touched the high from May. Sorry. Oh, my bad. Yeah, January. I mean, yeah, it's completely different, right? Yeah, sorry. This is, yeah, we did form an all-time high here back in May. And here we didn't, right? So all-time high was hit in May on the US dollar, but not on the euro or the British pound. And on the euro, with this latest move up here in the first week of July, second week, we did not hit all-time high on the euro. We barely hit all-time high on the British pound. It's just, I mean, you can take a look at BTC against the, you know, Turkish lira, right? I mean, we can do that right now. What is the ticker symbol for the Turkish lira? And you know, it's completely different. What is the ticker symbol for the Turkish lira? Just yeah, I'm not sure what the ticker symbol is here for the Turkish lira. If anybody has it, TRY, and yeah, I mean, yeah. Well, eventually, I mean, I don't know what. Yeah, this is lagging, but yeah. Well, when you take a look at it against the Turkish lira, I mean, this is in an epic. It's gone much higher than the all-time high that we had in January, as you can see here. But yeah, it depends on the currency, really. But we're not going to analyze that. It depends on the inflation of the currency, right? So let's go through the comment section here, see what's going on. Google it. Yeah, it was T. Yeah, that was the ticker symbol. The Turkish lira had a bit more of an explosive breakout, just because it has a bit more inflation compared to, you know, euro, dollar. Pilas que a las 2 p.m. anuncian la tercera guerra mundial, says Lil Menace. yeah, you know, it's saying that the third world war is going to be announced potentially at 2 p.m. Yeah. CHF neither. Boy, I need to buy BTC Turkish lira. In my opinion, looks like the way to go. Yeah, eventually. Anyway, legends, not much more here to discuss. Okay, about Bitcoin. Really focusing on mainly Bitcoin. I'm back in Dubai. No more paella and beer and fiesta and siestas. It's back Dubai. Get healthy, analyze the situation, get back into day trading, and I will be focusing very much with the Legends Pro community on day trading and scalping, which is basically where I come from. I come from scalping and day trading. I'm going to focus on that because it's time to make money, guys. It is time to make money. Looking at this local range, not really interested, right? On the higher time frame, especially here on YouTube, I want to talk about what would be the sign of strength. You know, claiming this pivot low is an absolute crucial scenario to be bullish. As explained, if we claim 115.8K, we are looking for this to be your wave, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4. You're already overlapping. That's a good sign. A double 1, 2. Not very common. If your second wave 1 and 2 is larger in price action than your first wave 1 and 2, this would be the first sign of strength tapping this level that we could be going to higher levels, right? And the corrective move down has to be very much studied, and we're looking for that leg up to claim 120K plus potentially next week, if not the other week, right? Depending on how large and boring this range is going to be. But that would be the first initial sign of strength, claiming that 115.8K. I would be very much interested in looking for long positions because I want to participate in the third wave, regardless if it's a C wave or a third wave, or it doesn't matter, right? I want to participate in that movement up to break the highs that we do form. A double bottom looks interesting. Not interested in shorts right now, guys. I cannot be bearish after, you know, this leg down. Analyzing the structure, this does look corrective still. The bearish case scenarios has lower probability to successfully move to lower levels, as explained. I mean, yeah, I don't see this as a successful breakdown. We did break down a few $1,000s from the lows here. You know, this is still the general idea. A successful breakdown here is unlikely. I mean, eventually you wouldn't expect it to nuke anyway, regardless. So, but we did break down a few $1,000s more than expected, guys. Okay, I have to say. Not much more has to be mentioned here on the stream, guys. Remember, if you are interested in trading, you do got the best bonuses available, guys, on Bluffin or Weeks. Weeks does provide you with a 25% fee reduction on your trades. You have the second link for Bluffin, 20% cashback, or fourth link for Weeks, guys, where you get 20% cashback also, but you also get 25% fee reduction on your trades, okay? So take advantage. You got both of the exchanges links down below in the description. Another way to support the channel, another way for you to get the best deals available as you sign up. You only need an email and a password. I'll be back tomorrow with another live stream. I'll be focusing, guys. Tomorrow is Monday. It's time for day trading and scalping. Enough fiesta, paellas, and beer. It is time to focus and make some money. A reversal is very much a high chance, in my opinion, guys. But as you know, as the fourth wave has been invalidated for an impulse here, we're probably not going to get very strong moves. I mean, we're going to have to go with the information that the chart gives us. But a double 1, 2 here is, you know, it would be rare, guys. It would be rare. That would be the most bullish case, but I have to say it would be rare. Anyway, legends, thank you very much for joining today's stream. Okay, much love to everybody. Take advantage of the rest of Sunday, okay? And tomorrow's Monday. It's a big day. We're going to have to make some gains, guys, because I did get stopped out. I did lose almost 3% of capital throughout different exchanges, and it's time to make it back. But you know what? I know I will. We're confident. The analysis is good. The track record is good. It's just a little bump in the road that has to be talked about. And it's time to get back into the winning train again. Much love to everybody. Thank you very much for joining. Thank you very much for smashing up that like button. Okay, let's get that like button. As you do, leave the live stream, guys, to get to 250. Let's go. Much love. Thank you, YRD, Lars, Sin Games, Lil Menace, Freestyle. I told you so. Much love to everybody. Much love to Devil and the moderators here. Sin Games, Devil, much love. Thank you, and I'll see you tomorrow.